Today's episode is brought to you by the book Everyone is a Sinner But Me, available now at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Live from Volpus Studios is the MCS1 show featuring Caleb Heller, and now your host, MCS1.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the MCS1 show. MCS1. I'm here with my compadre Caleb Heller. Yo, Caleb.
What's up, Mark?
You know, just hanging out, chilling.
You just recording a show or something?
Just recording a show or something, I guess.
I mean,
Something.
Something.
Yeah, more something.
More
yeah.
something.
Right.
So today we got a special show for everyone at home.
Very special.
Very special. We are going to be talking about the worst drivers ever. Yes. Which are apparently Utah drivers, which those that live in a state outside of Utah, they're like, no, it's the state I live in. You haven't been to Utah.
Yeah, come to Utah for a week.
Come to Utah. We'll show
not
you
even,
what's
Not
up.
even for a week. Come to Utah for like a half hour and you'll be like, oh, God, what is going on?
What is with this place?
Why are these people so bad at everything?
Oh, man. They are. And so we're going to talk about Utah drivers, specifically the Happy Valley drivers. They're the worst.
The worst.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of different studies that have shown that, but
Yeah,
interesting.
interesting thing. Because of the religious Mormon culture in Happy Valley, my friend's mother always said, and I'm paraphrasing this a little bit, she would always say, Utah drivers are always driving like they're in a hurry to get to heaven.
That's a good one. I like
yeah,
that.
I thought so too.
I like that. That's funny.
So the reason we're talking about this is I don't own a car. I use public transportation a lot. I use Uber quite a bit, but I also walk everywhere. But I'm afraid to cross the street because I'm afraid to get hit because of all the these crazy drivers out here. It's ridiculous and somewhat scary at times.
Which is really funny too. Like on the other side of that, one thing that I've noticed because I do drive a lot is that there are also a lot of pedestrians that don't pay attention, and it's like
No, they don't.
And it's like, this is the one state where you should definitely be paying a lot of attention.
Yeah, and Caleb and I have a mutual friend. His name is Max. And Max, he says if he ever gets into office, he's going to create an act called the Pedestrian Responsibility Act, where pedestrians have to act responsible in the case of like car accidents or getting hit by them and things like that.
Well, and like
Because
jaywalking, like if
things like that.
If you're jaywalking and you get hit by a car, you shouldn't be able to cash out the insurance on that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're an idiot.
Exactly, and that's what he wants. He wants to do.
Freaking Max.
Max of the Pedestrian Responsibility Act. So back to the Utah drivers just being so terrible. And you're right, the pedestrians are bad too. The traffic here is just weird and stuff. And as I've always said with a lot of things, it gets worse the closer you get to the college campus.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
man,
way
so
worse.
Bad.
It's just terrible and kind of scary. And so Utah drivers, the thing about it is they always think they're the best.
Yeah.
At everything, but particularly driving. And they'll always post things on Facebook or Twitter being like, Utah has the best drivers in all the U.S. A study done by BYU or some local place.
Yeah, or like the Daily Herald.
Yeah.
They do a study on that, and it's like, oh, what's your survey parameters?
Well,
Orem.
Our editor went to Alaska, and he saw an accident, and he hasn't seen any here.
So we're good. So Utah 0, Alaska 1 on accidents.
Exactly.
So we're the best.
So to be fair, this is from Provo Buzz, which linked to another article or whatever, with Utah had the best drivers. And it was from carinsurancecomparison.com back in 2013.
So it's not even like relevant data for right now.
Not really. I mean, currently this year is 2017.
Yeah, so we're 4 years beyond this one.
Exactly.
Provo Buzz. Maybe y'all could catch up with the times, Provo Buzz.
Yeah, and it said their statistics were primarily from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and a survey compiled by Auto Insurance website scored every state on the quality of their drivers. The higher the score, the worse off the state.
Okay.
And so that's how they obtained everything. But then We move on to towards the end of 2016. While 2016 was busy killing off random celebrities, it this article came out from a survey done by a website called quotewizard.com, and then all the news outlets around here were referencing this because no one does real surveys or news anymore.
Yeah,
They kind of reference it just as they feel like, just as we are right now.
yeah.
And so
Super in-depth research on our part.
exactly. And so
Definitely quote us on everything.
yeah, and so the methodology for this was they said they sampled incident data from more than 2 million data points from users from their website and linearly
Extrapolated it.
extrapolated. I can't read out loud very well. Looking into Hooked on Phonics, extrapolated it to the Federal Highway Administration fatality data to quantify overall driving standards for comparison. We weighted various incident counts for each state with its occurrence percentage. The final rankings are a sum of weighted means that is calculated from total accidents, speeding tickets, DUIs, citations, and fatalities.
Okay.
Caleb had an interesting point before this show regarding Utah fatalities.
Yeah, so one of the funny things, so there's this little like billboard, and I can't remember exactly where it is, but it's up the I-15.
It's probably one of the ones that's next to one of the Jimmer billboards.
I think so, actually. I think so. But it's like on one of those overhanging walkways, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so they have those little signs. And there was this thing that they posted like late last year. It was like I was driving up and I think it was like December 28th or something like that. And they had this thing up there and it was like no fatalities in 152 of the days this year. And I was like, yeah, but that means that there were fatalities in the other like 200 and what would that be? 210 days of that year. Those are pretty bad odds, man. I mean, that's pitiful.
That's so sad.
I mean, if you think about it, what would that be? That would be roughly 21 out of 35 days, or what, 3 out of 5? So 60% of the days there was a fatality, not just an accident, but some guy getting into an accident and dying from it.
Which is sad.
That's a horrible ratio. 60% of the days last year, there were people dying in car accidents here.
Very sad.
That's pretty bad.
So, continuing with the Quote Wizard article, when you read the section about Utah, it says, according to our data, Utah drivers are the worst in the union.
Yeah, and that's...
They didn't have to include the union. They could have just said the worst.
Yeah, just the worst, period.
Yeah, the worst, period.
It's good. We did it.
Yeah. They're second in rankings for both accidents and speeding, as well as the fourth worst for minor citations. Surprisingly, for a state known for its non-drinking populace, Utah actually made the top 10 for DUIs, coming in at number 9.
That's so sad.
I know.
That is just ridiculous.
But on the bright side, Utah missed our list of worst states for fatalities. It's still pretty bad, but it's not on the worst.
Okay.
So
all right.
At least fewer people are dying in all of these accidents.
Well, that's, I guess, somewhat comforting. Man, then other states must have like fatalities every day.
Yeah.
Because 60% is a pretty high. I feel like 60% at least is a pretty high number.
Yeah,
I
do too, but maybe in comparison to other
yeah
places, it's a lot worse.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess what that would mean is that, while there are more accidents here, they're not as
huge.
They're not as huge.
Huge.
They're not as huge.
Huge.
There are no problems down there.
So, aside from accidents and these stats about how Utah has the worst drivers in the union,
I just love that there's a lot of data points proving that there are, but then Provo Buzz still comes out and says, best drivers.
I know.
Come on, Provo Buzz.
Oh,
You're not fooling anybody.
So, insure.com, they posted an article a while ago, and it said rudest drivers by state. And do you want to guess where Utah was in it, Caleb?
Gotta be top 10.
It was actually number 10.
Wow.
Perfect.
Hey, I was right on number 10.
Later, Caleb will start guessing people's weights at carnivals. He'll be within 10 pounds.
Yay!
So anyway, it said Utah, and the headline for that was The Amazing Race.
That is funny.
And it said, recent Utah resident Matt Stubbs says it appears that the state's motorists are all in a race. He says nobody knows where it ends or how to get to the finish. So everyone here,
That's so perfectly said.
yeah. So everyone here drives 5, 10, or 15 miles per hour over the speed limit.
That's hilarious.
They
And
tend
it's accurate too. I mean, it's
very accurate. Yeah. They tend not to signal because they wouldn't want anyone to know their next move.
Ugh.
They don't let anyone merge.
Also true and super rude.
They just keep looking straight ahead and pretending not to see that car trying to squeeze in next to them.
Which is also, the funny thing about that is that then on the other side of that, people feel like they have to just like push their way in
I got a story about that.
because no one's gonna let them in.
I got a
you
story
know?
about that in a little bit or later on in the show.
Okay.
So continuing, they often blow through yield signs as if they don't exist.
Also
And
true.
be careful in that parking lot, or you might just get clipped by someone barreling across the parking lot to shave off 10 seconds off their drive time. And it's so true. They're always going through parking lots
It's true.
like
It's true.
crazy, as in like going through all the direct parking spots.
Yeah. Right through the stalls, yeah.
Like right through the middle of all
Yeah.
of them.
I'll be honest. Whenever I go late night shopping, I definitely do that.
Yeah.
Because there's no one there.
Yeah, but not
But if it's like
all day
but if
packed.
it's like during the day and there's like other people there, I try not to. Just
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, that's pretty maddening,
So here I got some interesting stories about Utah quote rudeness in driving, or Utah quote road rage, I should say.
But they're the best, Mark.
But no.
But they're the best.
So I had an old roommate, and this is I was gonna say these from our Happy Valley Hate show on passive aggressive Provo, but I think this works really
Hey,
well.
if it's road rage, it's road
With
rage.
him,
right?
this is road rage stuff. So what he did was he was a huge road rage guy. And if you met him, he was like a huge wiener, which is hilarious. And so there was one time, it was after what's known as General Conference priesthood session. This is where there's a church assembly twice a year for the men 12 or older of the LDS/Mormon church. And it used to take place in church meeting houses during a Saturday evening. And as he was trying to get out, no one was letting him in. And so what he did was he cut a guy off and flipped him off in a church parking lot after this church meeting, and then just drove off. And it's like, who does
I'm
that?
sorry, what?
Yeah, no joke.
During a church meeting?
Well, after the church meeting.
sorry,
like-
after
like
the church meeting.
Right after, can't get out, so many people, and that's what he does.
Well, clearly he was feeling the spirit.
He was totally feeling spiritual at that point. And then another time,
oh my gosh,
he-
that's so bad.
and another time I was riding with him, he cut someone off, and he knew he did it, but he's like, I don't care. I don't have to deal with them.
Well, he's super cool then.
Well, the stoplights ahead of us turned red, and it was just him and us. And the guy parked at the stoplight, and he was in the next lane over, and my roommate just kind of stopped, like about maybe 3-4 cars from the stoplight. And the guy in the driver's side put out his hand, and he was waving him forward, to have him come up. And he wouldn't. He would not do it. He goes, I'm not going up there. I don't want to deal with it. And I'm the one on the passenger
What a
side
weenie.
who would have to really deal with it probably. And so anyway, the light turned green or whatever. And then for the rest of the night, he was kind of put in his place and didn't like try anything crazy on the road or period.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
That is too perfect.
it is.
Just waving him forward.
Yeah, it was.
Come on, man.
Hey.
Hey.
Probably this Provo All-Stars like, dude, bro, come up here. Let's talk, bro.
Oh,
you want
man.
to talk? Let's
See,
talk.
and in that situation, I don't know who I'd hate more.
I don't either. It's like when I watch a football game between BYU and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's like I want both teams to lose
Really badly, yeah.
really badly because I hate BYU and I hate Nebraska because I grew up there and I hate
Sure.
the Huskers.
Sure.
So it's that type of thing. So those are some passive aggressive Provo
Oh man.
type stuff going on.
I gotta tell you a funny one from back when I was a kid. So and this is about like the cutting off thing. So I was driving with my brother who was like 8 years older than I am. And we were actually going to my sister's house. She lived up in Orem. We lived down in Springville, right? So we're driving up to, and I don't know if you're too familiar with the layout of Springville, but for the 400 South exit, it's a single lane road that goes up there, right? And there's a farm in one of the sections out there, and this guy in his way too big truck.
Way too big truck. That sounds like a Tyco or Play School
Yeah.
type product. Way too big truck comes with everything you see here.
And-
It's got a big old giant muffler that puts off like little fake plastic
Yeah.
gas and a hole in the ozone.
for the child trying to overcompensate already. Anyway, so and we're driving this stupid little Geo, what was it, Prism, just little Geo Prism, right? Just this crappy little four-door sedan or whatever. Anyway, so we're driving, and it's pretty backed up, and it's because it's the only way to get to the freeway,
Yeah.
and so then this guy comes up and he's trying to turn left into the lane, right? Well, it's backed up going both ways. And so he literally just starts inching his way forward in front of oncoming traffic, and it's a 45-mile-an-hour road.
Oh man.
And so the people coming off the freeway they were coming off pretty cleanly because there's a stoplight, and the light turned green, and they were all coming, and he just put himself halfway into that lane and like made all of these people stop. And then he cut my brother off, and when my brother had the audacity to honk at him, he slammed the brakes on his giant truck and opened the door like he was going to come out.
Oh, please.
Now, the funny thing about it is, though, and this is the thing that he definitely did not realize about my brother, is that my brother had recently got home from his mission in Brazil, right? And he actually studied jiu-jitsu while he was out there a little bit. Because he actually, so he came home and went back out and studied some jiu-jitsu with some people. And so this guy comes out, like, trying to pick a fight with my brother, and he tries to do just this one quick swing, and my brother just just because of his recent studies, and my brother's honestly a pretty aggressive guy.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he's big when it comes to my family, but he's not like big when it comes to human beings.
Best way to describe him. He's big for other, by other people, by our standards, but by everyone else.
Yeah, he's maybe average. But anyway, so this guy's like, and the guy got out of his truck, and he's like this bigger guy, probably played football or something. So he takes a swing at my brother with his fist, and they're obviously just dropping F-bombs, and he's like, F you, F that, just the whole time. It's just a whole bunch of them just screaming at each other. But he takes this swing at my brother, and my brother, because of everything that he had just basically gone through and studied and everything, he grabs the guy's wrist, rips his arm forward, puts it around his back, and then he basically from there, I can't remember exactly what he did at that point, but he basically put the guy's arm behind his back, and then he kicked him straight, right in his butt, and he's like, hey, if you want more, keep coming. And I was like, maybe let's just drive on this busy road. But it was just but that's purely indicative, and it's on both of their parts, of the Utah road rage, where it's just like, the guy,
bro, come at me, bro.
The guy clearly was being a bit of a dick, by coming out and doing all of that. Like, yeah, that's sure, you're not being very nice, and especially to the guys going the other way. And then to cut my brother off and do all that, like obviously my brother, he honked at him. And the thing is that he initially honked at him just to say, hey, I'm here. Just to let him know where, that we're
But
around.
everyone here is so defensive.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that because he got honked at, this guy immediately took it as this like shot at his manhood. And it's like,
oh boy.
And it's like, are you serious, bro? Like,
yeah, bro, I am.
Like, just stop, man. Like, understand that you made a mistake and keep driving.
So speaking of cutting off, inching, or whatever, so here's my story, referencing back to what you said what we said a while ago, cutting people off. So when I first moved to Utah, I knew quite a few people, but I didn't know too many. And I met this guy. He's like, hey, I have a band and we need a bassist. I got a bass you can play. And all my bass equipment was back in Iowa. And I'm like, yeah, man, totally. And so we would have practice up in Salt Lake City at this Hispanic music store at night when it closed down.
That's awesome.
It sounds really It sounds kind of cool, but it's
It was
really
probably super sketch.
it was super sketch. And the funny thing is, it's like everyone in the band was Hispanic but me, and I was the only white guy there. I didn't know any Spanish, and all the songs were in Spanish. And
Whatever,
I mean,
man. You know music.
I just play bass. And so anyway,
Just slapping the
yeah,
bass.
I actually don't slap.
You slap it.
Anyway, so we were going
just
up
kidding, man.
up for practice, and there was a wreck, and traffic had to zip her in or
Sure.
go. And so he goes, no, man, what we're gonna do is I got an idea. And that's all he says. And so all of a sudden he gets all the way over to the left lane, and he zooms all the way up to the front, and he just tries to inch in. He goes, they'll let me in. Trust me. I go, dude, they're not gonna let you in. This is a really, really rude thing to do. He goes, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And so then
What the freak?
he's
one of those people.
He's one of those people. And even better, there was a guy with an oversized truck.
Yes.
Who
maybe it was the same guy.
Maybe it was the same guy. And he was the guy was not letting him in. The mirror for like my passenger side mirror where I was, the mirror was starting to crack because that's how close the guy was to us and wasn't letting us in. And he's like, no, he'll let us in. I go, no, he's not going to.
He's clearly not going to let you in.
And so
he's hitting your mirror.
He's hitting the mirror. He's not going to let us in.
Oh my gosh.
And he goes, and then eventually we were let in. And so he's like, man, I don't understand that guy. I mean, I bet he's got some personal problems at home or something or whatever. And I'm thinking, no, but most likely yes, because he drives an oversized truck.
Yeah, but not because of the not letting you in thing.
But not because of not letting you in thing. It's because you were trying to be rude and entitled, acting like you were more important than the actual rules of things and everyone else, and you tried to shortcut. And that's
that's so lame.
It is.
God, that is lame.
And so it's just that happens a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is really sad. And the thing is that it's on both sides.
Yeah.
You know? And it's because of the whole not signaling thing, like people really do feel like they have to cut somebody off and do all that kind of stuff just to get into a lane.
Yeah,
because no one will let you in.
No one uses their turn signals here.
No.
It drives it's crazy. And when
it's so dangerous.
And when they switch lanes, they're constantly switching lanes as well, with not using the turn signals. And every time I see a clickbait article that says Utah drivers are stunned by this new rule, I'm always thinking, what is it, the turn signal? Because really, guys, really,
seriously, man, it's so bad.
It's so bad. And since we're talking about them constantly switching lanes, they're constantly always driving in the left lane as slow as possible.
It's so true.
It's it's so bad.
And it's everywhere. It's not just on the freeway. Like it'll be even on just like State Street.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They'll be in the left
University
on State Street or on University and stuff, and they're just like they're going, maybe barely at the speed limit,
and they don't have,
or even a little under the speed limit,
and they don't have to turn or anything.
No, they're just there.
They're just there, And so everyone is always having to weave in and out of traffic to find the quote fastest lane. Yeah. When in other states where it's illegal to drive slow in that lane.
Well, like that, and that lane is only supposed to be used for passing in general. Like obviously in high traffic situations, it's like whatever, do what you can.
Yeah.
But in general, the left lane is supposed to be a lane where you speed up to pass somebody and then get back over into the right lane.
Yeah.
Or the middle lane, whichever,
Yeah.
But here it's like, no, I'm going to use the left lane to go slow to teach these young punks that they're not supposed to do that.
I'll show you all.
That's what I feel like they're doing, and they're just like, now you can't get past me because I'm in the left. This is the passing lane.
Oh, man.
So annoying.
And so they have these crazy fluctuating speed limits of driving slow in the left lane and then fast in the right lane.
Which makes no sense.
And it's
I don't understand that.
It's ridiculous. It's just, it's crazy. And so, speaking of speeding though, this is from a KSL comment I found while doing some research on bad drivers of Utah. This was from someone named, his name is Mr. Anderson or Bistco3.
Neo?
Neo, Mr. Anderson. And so,
Neo's back.
yeah, Neo's here to dog on Utah drivers. And so he
He
said,
doesn't really need to. It's
yeah, I
already
know, everyone does.
we got it.
So he says, Utahns are an odd combination of personalities. We're hyper competitive, but we don't want to stand out from the crowd. We automatically race. See, this is back to that race thing again.
Right.
To
The
keep
Amazing
from
Race.
being behind another car, but then match their speed because we don't want to be ahead either.
Which is so funny.
Yeah. And he says it's an unconscious act too. I've been known to play head games with such people by using my cruise control to gradually add 1 mile per hour at a time
What?
until I have them racing down the road at meteoric volumes. They'll suddenly realize they're going 95 in a 65 zone. It's hilarious. Once, I even did it when I knew there was a speed trap in a particular spot and slammed on my brakes and abandoned the lady to her fate.
Bold.
Yeah, that's
Dude,
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, that guy's my hero.
He is my hero. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, wherever you are.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
The other thing, and we kind of mentioned this a while ago, is a lot of there are a lot of people that are here to drive really rude or whatever,
Yeah.
and they call it like, oh, it's aggressive driving, not defensive but aggressive.
Yeah.
And they try to use that to justify it. And so, but there are some people that are too nice.
Yeah.
As
Mhm.
well here. And so, but the thing is, the people who are douchebags are like, well, everyone here is nice, so they'll let me in. They'll let me
Yeah.
do this. They'll let me
They'll
get
take
away with
advantage of it. Yeah.
my bad behavior. And so we have a ton of that just going on, and it's ridiculous.
Well, it's annoying. Like the big thing for me on that too is that it's just like, just because one person is nice and lets you in doesn't mean that everyone will. But they just
Yeah.
assume that everyone else is nice and that everyone else will just let them make mistakes.
Exactly.
Which is actually something that my wife and I have talked about a ton. All the time. Like we'll be driving, and then all of a sudden some guy will do something stupid in front of us and we're just like, what the heck, man? And so we'll honk, and then we'll eventually drive past them or near them or whatever, and they look like super sad. Like it's like, why are you just made a mistake. I was just letting you know that someone else was here, be a little bit more aware. Or they'll be super mad. Like, how dare
Shooting
you
the
call me
bird.
out? And it's like, okay, dude, you're the one who cut me off. Why am I getting the finger?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, what is
It's
this?
not my fault, bro.
What is this backwards universe we live in here?
Well, it's known as the bubble in Happy Valley.
No, fair
and-
enough.
Yeah. So
You got me there.
speaking of backwards universe and everything else crazy we've covered, here's something good to like kind of wrap it up in. So recently, University Parkway has removed its middle lane.
Which is so terrifying.
It moved its middle lane. Apparently, they're going to put in a bus system that's supposed to go from UVU to BYU to Walmart and circle around and
Sure.
run every 5 minutes. Hey, good for Utah for finally, or no, sorry. Hey, good for Provo for finally admitting you're just a college town. Same with Orem.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's good. But here's the downside. When they repainted the lines, they repainted them to be like super swervy
And really kind of confusing,
and
to be honest.
extremely confusing, and hardly any of them are straight, which makes this terrible because everyone who's been in the habit over the course of, I don't know, 50 some years, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is like so used to just driving straight. Here's where the lane changes, and they're not used to these lines, as causing tons of accidents. And it's just, it's so ridiculously bad. And it's happened like in Provo and Orem.
Yeah, well, and that construction technically isn't even finished.
No, it's not, because they
You
still
know?
got to put in the bus lane
Right. Right.
if that is what they are doing.
Which I'm still, like, as far as Orem goes, I'm still very unsure.
Yeah.
If they're actually going to do that. Like, it's just like, where's the bus lane? Because Orem is quote unquote done,
Yeah.
but I don't see a bus lane anywhere. So I don't know where they're.
I think they're planning on
putting
coming
them.
in and tearing it out again.
Dude,
and
I get-
doing it. And
come
like the Utah
on.
Transit Authority is paying for it. That's what I've heard.
Human
I don't know how
Christmas.
true this is.
Oh,
but-
that sounds just awful.
Pretty ridiculous. So I want to end with this. This is from a quote by George Carlin. And he says,
Gotta love Georgie.
I love George Carlin. He said, have you ever noticed that anybody driving slower than you is an idiot? And anyone going faster than you is a maniac.
Perfectly sums up the entire Utah mentality when it comes to driving.
Exactly. And I think with that, we're just going to end our show for the day.
Definitely.
On that note, I want to thank my friend Caleb Hennon for coming on today.
Anytime.
Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the MCS1 show. For weekly episodes on society, counterculture, and pretty much everything but politics and sports, subscribe on iTunes or Google Play. For regular updates, head to the MCS1show.com